Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on Stargirl Season 2, and this is going to be my review for Episode 2 for this season, otherwise entitled Summer School Chapter 2. There's just too many twos. But of course, spoiler alert, if you've not watched the episode, go away, then come back to this video later on, because we're going to be jumping into everything that happens in this episode and breaking it down, and yeah, there's some pretty cool stuff that happens. But yeah, if you are continuing on with the video, be sure to let me know in the comment section down below what you thought about the episode, what was your favorite moment, what you love, what you hate, everything like that, and any theories you might have based off of stuff that happens in the episode. Let me know all that in the comment section down below. And of course, if you're going to enjoy the video, it would be awesome if you could drop a like on it to show support and love for the episode. But yeah, of course, last episode was a season premiere. We picked up about 6 months, I think it was, after the end of last season, like 5 to 6 months roughly, with not really much going on in Blue Valley. It's pretty dead, and that's a bit of a disappointment to the JSA. So they're pretty much just continuing on with their normal lives as well as dealing with the fallout from last season. Stuff with Rick and Grundy, Beth and Chuck, Yolanda and her being a murderer now. And of course, Courtney's still obsessed with being Stargirl without a lot, actually being there to do. But one of the big elements now in Blue Valley is Eclipso. Cindy's, attached to Eclipso now. So that continues on this episode. But of course, we ended last episode with Green Lantern showing up. This being Green Lantern's daughter Jenny Lynn Hayden. There was a bit of destruction, and that's where we left off. But we didn't pick up where we left off straight away. No, we actually started with a bit of a musical and dance sequence. We started with Some Girls Just Want to Have Fun by Cyndi Lauper, which, let's be honest, is a great start at any time, regardless of the show, regardless of the tone, regardless of the mood, whatever it is. It's just a good time whenever that happens. But we do have Cindy's stepmother, Bobby Berman, dancing along, enjoying some wine, just having a good time and trashing the house. Now, we thought she'd been taken out or something last season. We weren't really sure. That was sort of left in like a bit of a question mark. But yeah, she's back in Blue Valley and she's simply packing her bags and on her way out. She's about to leave the house. She's about to go back to her old life. But unlucky for her, Cindy, her stepdaughter, arrives just as she is leaving, and Eclipso is in tow as well and gets to her through the diamond. Uh-oh. But we did get to cut back, and when this little thing came up, I thought we were flashing back once again to like we did last episode in the 50s, but we only go back a little bit of time, if that makes sense. So we go back to Milwaukee, or we go to Milwaukee, to the Ordway Home for Children. I think that's what it was called. And it's around a week earlier. It's like 5 or 6 days earlier, something like that. And we see Jenny Lynn Hayden leaving, but she's given something in an old throat lozenge container. And I think it was sent by Child Services. I think that's what they said. Now, inside of it was a toy car, which belonged to her twin brother Todd by the sound of it, because he says, "Oh, Todd," when she picks it up. And he is otherwise known as Obsidian from the comics. It's her twin brother, who... yeah, we'll talk about him later. And also in there is the Green Lantern ring that belonged to her father, Alan Scott. Now, seeing the ring activate was super cool. I didn't think we're actually going to see it then. I thought it was going to be something else, or we'll see it later, but we see it activate then. And just it actually choosing Jenny was just a nice moment. I thought it was cool. But we then cut to the present day, and we actually do get to pick up from last episode. Now, Jenny explains why she was taking the Green Lantern, revealing that her father is Alan Scott to Pat, and she actually knows all about Pat, calling him a legend to the rest of the family's surprise, which I thought was pretty funny. But she specifically wants Pat to hopefully teach her about everything Green Lantern, just like how Courtney was taught about, using the cosmic staff and everything like that. But we do see Jenny pull out a photo of herself and her brother Todd later on, when they were very young, like 2 or 3 years old, maybe even just around 1 or 2. So it will be interesting to follow that journey with Jenny, and whether or not Todd is met this season, because he's brought up a few times in this episode, but I am very curious to see where that goes in this season and maybe seasons beyond. Now, one interesting thing was Pat's talk to Courtney about how he knows that Jenny is Alan's daughter, with us also learning that kids weren't really a topic of conversation or discussion amongst the JSA. They were pretty much entirely kept a secret to keep them safe, which makes sense. Of course, we already met Rebecca, Rebecca McNider, or Dr. Midnight's daughter, in the first episode, and she was attacked by Eclipso. So I wonder which other superhero offspring we could meet this season, because it seems like there's a deep history with the Eclipso stuff, and I'm just intrigued to see where they dive into, or what, destinies and origins and mantles and stuff that they dive into this season. Now, one thing that was clear in this episode, and it definitely might have frustrated people, was Courtney's got some attitude towards Jenny. Now, obviously, a lot of it is just built up frustration from stuff that's going on outside of the Jenny. Like, a lot of the stuff that would be annoying Courtney and that would build up to her having this attitude has nothing to do with Jenny at all, which includes summer school, which we learned that Yolanda is also attending. And not because she needs to, but because her parents are making her, just to keep her busy and keep her out of trouble, which, bit rough, but we know what her parents are like now. So, and there didn't really seem to be too much improvement last season from what was going on with her. Now, Rick is actually supposed to be there as well. Of course, that teacher failed him last episode, which we thought would lead to him going to summer school as well. We weren't too sure. But he is busy on Grundy Patrol, Grundy Care, not too sure what you would call it. But this time he's dropping off pizza. 4 things of pizza rather than fried chicken. And this was in the morning as well. So I'm like, I wonder what the pizza guy's thinking when this guy comes in. Hey, four large pizzas at like 10 a.m. in the morning. Unless he got them the night before. Maybe he played it safe, got them the night before. I'm not too sure, but there was a lot of pizza for anyone, but a lot of pizza for anyone at 10 a.m. especially. Now, one sequence I thought we might have seen more of in this episode, or might have gone for a bit longer, but obviously they might want to save it for later in the season for, maybe when it suits it more, or maybe when we can just see it played out a bit more. And that's when we have the Green Lantern lessons for Jenny by Pat. With Pat curious about the fact that the ring worked for almost an entire week with Jenny, like leading her to Blue Valley, when from what he knows and what he can remember, the ring needed to charge every day and get charged by the Green Lantern battery, or just what we call the Green Lantern, when Alan Scott wore it. Now, Pat teaches Jenny how to make constructs, with her making a construct of the toy car belonging to her brother that was in the lozenge container thing, along with the ring. And the visuals looked really, really cool. So I'm excited to see what happens later on, whether it's, wherever that might be in the future. I'm excited to see what, constructs are made, whether it's a hammer, whether it's a slingshot, whether it's a nail gun. I'm not too sure what it would be, but I'm curious and excited to see what happens. Now, it wasn't just Green Lantern stuff in this episode. We get to meet Richard Swift, aka the Shade, properly in this episode. Of course, last season, we saw the back of his head when he came into the ISA's headquarters, but we officially meet him. So Richard Swift, aka the Shade, rolls up to the American Dream of all places to meet with Barbara. Now, he tells her that he's interested in the magic collection of William Zarek, aka the Wizard, who of course we saw killed last season, but his collection was also where Cindy Berman found Eclipso's diamond at the end of last season. So is he after Eclipso? Has he got the word that Eclipso's there? Or is it something else within there? I'd assume it's Eclipso, but you never know. Now, he is offering a decent-sized chunk of change, if you want to call it, for the collection if it is up for sale, which I think he will be like, hey, if it's up for sale, I'll buy it. If it's not up for sale, I'll probably just take it. But I must say, he is quite shady, and I love it. I do love it. I really like what the actor's doing with that role. Now, a bonus fact for this episode, James Robinson wrote this episode, who was the comic author who pretty much reinvented the character of the Shade. Like, actually gave him, I think he came up with Richard Swift, the name, gave him an actual backstory. He was a pretty boring, bare bones character before that, but James Robinson went, hey, let's add some spice to this, and actually made him a character. So he actually wrote this episode. Not too sure if he's writing any more episodes, maybe another Shade-orientated one later in the season, but he was the one that wrote this episode. So if you like the Shade, you can thank him. Now, we do get the rest of the JSA meeting Jenny, and they are all like super welcoming, but Courtney is once again very standoffish and the opposite of welcoming, which, Courtney usually likes seeing the best in everyone, if you want to call it, but here it's just none of that. But we learn that Courtney is just like simply jealous of Jenny, and I did like the chat with her and Pat Courtney and Pat, in which he gives some clarity to the entire situation and opening Courtney's eyes up to what's going on. And though Courtney does warm up to Jenny, Jenny just doesn't appreciate her saying she has everything, when it is sort of the opposite. I mean, she was in a group home. Like, Jenny, if anything, is jealous of Courtney's family and everything like that. And, Courtney's like just jealous of this one little thing. And it seems a bit, it just seems a bit petty, that Courtney would be jealous over this one little thing when Courtney's pretty much got the perfect life outside of that one tiny little thing, which obviously would frustrate Jenny to a certain degree, if not a very high degree. And really the only thing that Jenny wants is her brother. I mean, they don't really mention her mother or anything like that. So I'm interested to see what road they go down there, what happened to her. Maybe she was killed alongside Alan Scott, I'm not too sure. But this whole thing, with Corny sort of angering Jenny, it leads her to knocking the lantern over, causing it to overload. But the lantern is pretty much like reciprocating her emotions, pretty much. And she has to absorb the energy, which leads her to going full Green Lantern, including some flying. And that looked really, really cool. However, the big thing that surprised me is that she bails the next day. She's gone. She just leaves. So Barbara went and checked in Corny's room where Jenny was staying, and she's just gone. So who knows when we see Jenny next? It's obviously not a one episode role. So when will we see her next? Maybe we'll have to wait until the threats are bigger before she comes back into things. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But coming back to Richard Swift, we did see Pat early in the episode rush to meet him after Barbara gives a call to Pat about Richard Swift. And Pat is very suspicious of him, though he doesn't get to like prod and poke as much as he probably would due to being interrupted by some green colored shenanigans. Pat does suspect that he is the Shade, and he is overly concerned about him. But this made me laugh. Corny's the complete opposite. As soon as Pat says that, she is super excited. She's like, let me get the cosmic stuff. Let me get the cosmic stuff. Let me get changed. It's time for some villain hunting in Corny's eyes. And Pat's like, well, look, I'm happy for you, but at the same time, I faced him, and yeah, it could be an issue. But speaking of issues, Eclipso. Eclipso starts haunting, I guess you could say, Bobby Berman after that interaction at the beginning of the episode between Cindy and Bobby. And Eclipso was like tempting her with her old life, she was so close to getting back, and that the only way to get that back is to kill Cindy. Now, we do get this Bobby versus Cindy fight for like 10 seconds, but this is before Eclipso takes over Cindy with the Eclipso face and all, and absorbs Bobby Berman, just reducing her to dust, feeding off her hatred among other emotions. Now, like that gives us a visual example as to what Eclipso will do to you if he simply isn't taking over you. But Eclipso influenced Bobby to do that to Cindy, while Eclipso's just like, hey, Cindy, I was just defending you. I just didn't want you to get hurt. And she was going crazy. She wanted to kill you. So Eclipso is going to tempt all these people. So I'm very intrigued to see who he goes after next, and whether anyone, can actually hurt Cindy, or whether Cindy is able to get rid of him, or maybe Cindy realizes what he is actually doing and she can sort of reject Eclipso and you have to find another host. I'm not too sure exactly what's going to happen there, but I don't know. They might lead us into those flashback episodes where we learn how he was kept in that diamond and, got separated from Bruce Gordon from the first episode. I don't know, but you can see that Eclipso is playing some games and Cindy isn't, 100% sure of, or 100% knowledgeable of what he is doing. So I wonder if she will find out, or if that won't happen and it'll be another outcome. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, another solid episode. I think I enjoyed this episode more than the premiere, just because we got a lot of Green Lantern stuff. We got to meet the Shade rolling in, and we actually got to see what Eclipso is pretty much doing. So we saw him in the first episode, but this episode sort of gave us a taste of, hey, he's definitely playing more than one person at a time. So I enjoyed this episode a lot, and yeah, really no negative things, I think, outside of maybe the fact that Rick was buying pizza at 10 a.m. potentially. Like maybe buy it at night, Rick, and maybe deliver it at night. I'm not too sure. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like on it to show support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions on this episode. What you love, what did you hate, what did you give your overall rating for the episode? Let me know in the comment section down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. And yeah, I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.